Welcome to DarrenDaily On Demand, your most trusted resource to help you become better every day. Today's episode is another special recap of this week's DarrenDaily Mentor Sessions. This dynamic recap was generated entirely by AI and features two hosts discussing the key principles and takeaways from the previous 5 Workday episodes of DarrenDaily. Now remember, if you aren't a member of the DarrenDaily community to receive every morning delivery of brand new episodes of DarrenDaily straight to your inbox, you can join over at DarrenDaily.com/join. Let's dive into the episode.
Ever feel like you're spinning your wheels? Like adding more and more to your to-do list but not getting anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Well, get ready for a shift in perspective because we're diving into 5 days of DarrenDaily episodes all about the power of subtraction.
Subtraction.
Yep. From December 9th through the 13th, Darren really digs into this idea. We're going to uncover why we're so hooked on ADDing things and how subtracting can actually unlock breakthroughs, like in productivity, personal growth, even parenting.
I'm intrigued.
Oh, and speaking of breakthroughs, you won't believe this. Did you know John Wayne's real name was Marion?
What? No way!
Yeah. It's a wild example of how subtraction, even something as basic as a name, can lead to incredible change. But we'll get to that later.
All right, I'm booked.
So first, let's talk about this thing Darren calls the additive bias. Basically, our brains are wired to crave more. More complexity, more novelty. We're always chasing those shiny objects. Oh, tell me about it. I'm constantly trying new productivity hacks, downloading the latest apps, but it's like I'm always running in place.
Right, and that's exactly what Darren calls it, the new idea treadmill. He says this bias, this need to add more, is actually ingrained in us.
Well, it makes sense if you think about it. Our ancestors, they had to focus on getting more food, more shelter, meant a better chance of survival.
I see, so we're kind of hardwired for it.
Yeah, but nowadays that instinct often backfires. Like you said, we end up on this treadmill, never really getting anywhere.
It's exhausting. Every day we're bombarded with messages to add more to our lives. Buy this, try that, sign up for this course.
Oh, and it's all fueled by that dopamine hit, that little rush we get from something new, but it's fleeting.
So we're chasing this temporary high, and it's actually keeping us stuck.
Exactly. We're caught in this dopamine trap.
Okay, so how do we break free?
That's where the power of subtraction comes in. Now, it's not about doing LES, it's about being more intentional with what we choose to do. It's about focusing on what truly matters. So subtracting the wrong things to make room for the right things.
Precisely. And you'd be surprised how many areas of life this applies to. Darren gives some really cool examples from sales to parenting, even product development.
All right, let's start with sales. It seems like there's this constant pressure to add more leads, more prospects, more activity.
Right. Always hustling, always chasing the next deal. But Darren suggests flipping the script. What if instead of adding more, you focused on your existing clients, the ones who already know and trust you?
Okay, so deepening those relationships instead of constantly hunting for new ones.
Exactly. It's about maximizing those connections, getting referrals, providing exceptional service. It might even free up some time and energy.
It's like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And this applies to parenting, too.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of adding more activities to our kids' schedules, we should be subtracting.
Well, not necessarily activities, but what about distractions?
Yeah.
Really being present when you are with your kids.
So putting down the phone, turning off the TV, that sort of thing.
Exactly. It's about creating those pockets of true connection, free from the constant digital bombardment. Those are the moments they'll remember.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. It's funny, listening to this, I'm realizing I could benefit from subtracting some digital clutter myself, just to create more space for those genuine moments.
I think that's a key takeaway here. It's not just about stuff. It's about creating space internally.
Okay, and what about product development? I'm curious about that one.
So Darren argues that a product with fewer features can actually be more appealing.
Wait, less is more. I feel like we're always told we need more bells and whistles.
Right. But think about it. When a product is too complicated, it becomes overwhelming. Subtracting those non-essential elements can actually lead to a better user experience.
So it's about simplicity and focusing on what truly delivers value.
Exactly. It's about clarity and elegance.
This is giving me so much to think about, and we haven't even touched on the deeper stuff, like how subtraction can impact our identities and personal growth.
Oh yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. But we'll save that for the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. But before we move on, I want to ask you, the listener, a question. Think of a problem you're facing right now, maybe at work, in your relationships, or even just in your headspace. What could you subtract to make it better? Okay, so we're back and ready to go deeper into this subtraction thing. It's one thing to say we need to let go of things, but how do we actually do that,
Yeah.
especially when they feel so, I don't know, ingrained.
Right. It's not always easy.
Not at all.
But that's where that John Wayne story comes in. Remember, his real name was Marion Robert Morrison.
Yeah, hard to imagine Marion as the tough guy, right?
Totally.
Right?
And apparently he was a pretty shy kid, too. But he had these firemen, like mentors, who called him Duke. They saw something in him, encouraged him to kind of step into this new identity.
So subtracting his old name and all the stuff that came with it actually helped him become the John Wayne we know.
That's the idea. It's about letting go of those limiting beliefs about ourselves. Those I am statements, as Darren calls them.
I am statements like I am a procrastinator or something.
Exactly. Or I am not good with numbers, or I am not creative, whatever those negative beliefs are that we hold on
And
to.
we're supposed to subtract those.
Well, it starts with awareness, right? Identifying those beliefs that aren't serving us and then challenging them.
Okay, so like putting those beliefs on trial.
Exactly. Are they really true? Or are they just stories we've been telling ourselves based on, past experiences or whatever?
So subtracting those old stories, those old identities.
And replacing them with more empowering ones. Like instead of saying, I'm trying to be more confident, you shift to, I am confident.
Oh, I see. Like you're actively choosing a new story, a new way of seeing yourself.
Right. And as you embody that new identity, you naturally start making different choices.
It's like subtraction creates the space for growth, for our true potential to emerge.
Ex-
But it's funny. We've talked a lot about how our brains are wired to add, but why is it so hard to do the opposite? To subtract?
It's that additive bias again. For our ancestors, more resources meant a better chance of survival.
Right, right.
But in today's world, that bias often leads to overwhelm, not success. We feel this pressure to add more, do more, be more.
No, it's like it's ingrained in our culture. You're not enough unless you're constantly adding to your life.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. But Darren's challenging us to question that, to consider a different path.
A path of simplicity, intentionality, focus.
Precisely. It's not just about achieving more. It's about living better, reclaiming our time, our energy, our attention.
It makes you realize how much we could all benefit from just hitting the pause button sometimes.
Absolutely.
And then asking, what can I subtract?
Exactly.
So what resonated with you most from all this? What's sticking with you? Okay, so we're back for the final part of this subtraction deep dive. And I'm ready for some action steps, some concrete examples.
Me too.
So Darren's Friday episode, he actually lays out some really practical advice.
Yeah, he gets into specifics about how to apply subtraction to things like sales,
Ooh, yeah, sales.
parenting, even product development. So remember how we talked about focusing on existing clients? Well, he takes that further and suggests really zeroing in on your top 20% of clients.
Oh, the 80-20 rule.
Exactly. It's about, maximizing those relationships that are already bringing in the most value.
Okay, that makes sense, but what does that look like practically?
Well, it's not just about sending more holiday cards or something.
Right.
It's about really understanding their needs, anticipating their challenges, being proactive.
So like becoming a true partner to them.
Exactly. And then with parenting, remember we talked about being present?
Yeah, subtracting those distractions.
Well, Darren goes even deeper, He challenges us to think about all the subtle ways we might be mentally checked out, even when we're physically there.
Oh, wow. I'm definitely guilty of that.
It's so easy to do. But it's about those small moments,
Yeah.
Like putting your phone in another room during dinner, really listening when your kid's telling you about their day.
It's about quality over quantity for sure.
Absolutely. And then the product development stuff, that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, the whole less is more thing.
He uses the example of the iPod, how revolutionary it was because it just did one thing really well.
Oh, yeah, it was all about simplicity.
And that's what made it so great. So often we think we need to add more features, more complexity. But sometimes stripping things down to the essentials is what makes a product truly stand out.
Focusing on that core value.
Exactly. It's about clarity, both for the user and for the company itself.
Listening to all this, it really is amazing how such a simple concept can have such a big impact.
It really is.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you really hope listeners take away from this whole subtraction thing?
I think it's that question. What can I subtract? I hope they'll start asking themselves that question in all areas of their lives.
At work, at home, with their stuff, everything.
Exactly. And I think they'll be surprised at what they discover.
Yeah, what they can achieve, how much lighter they can feel.
Absolutely.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive into the power of subtraction.
It has been. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to Darren's work. And until next time, remember, sometimes letting go is the most powerful thing you can do. See you on the next deep dive.
That wraps up today's episode of Darren Daily On Demand. We hope this special AI-powered recap gave you some valuable insights. If you're ready to continue leveling up and becoming better every day, make sure you join Darren Hardy and thousands of high achievers over on Darren Daily. Visit darrendaily.com/join to get free daily mentoring that will keep you focused and moving forward. Thanks for listening.